Alright, I was asked to do a video on kind of my opinion as part of the MMA challenge on the chances of Anderson Silva becoming a double champ, as in the 185-pound champ and the 205-pound champ in the UFC. I'm going to state that I don't think it will happen. I mean, anything's possible in the world of MMA, but the chances are highly against it. Okay, so I'm going to look at the reasons why I don't think that would happen. Well, first up is an obvious thing: size. You go up in a weight class, you're dealing with a whole different size, and Anderson Silva is not a big 185er. You have to remember this. I mean, you look at a lot of the other top 185ers, Rich Franklin, Matt Lindland, even Nate Marquardt, and Paulo Fio. They're considerably bigger than Anderson Silva is anyways, and they would be small at 205, and Anderson's going to be tiny at 205. Like, I don't think, if I had to take a guess, and I can't state this as a fact, but if I had to take a guess, I don't think Anderson Silva cuts from anything more than 200 pounds to get down to 185. That's the ceiling. That's tops. So he's going to actually probably have to put weight on to fight at 205, which is never a good idea in my experience. Watching MMA and watching fighters prepare to go up in a weight class that they put on weight to try to be heavier or stronger or anything like that, it doesn't generally end well. Now, that being said, I mean, there's a lot of things that Anderson Silva has that could make him. I mean, he's incredibly skilled. He's probably the best MMA striker, which is his striking translates to MMA, because I think there are better kickboxers, certainly, that have achieved more in the world of kickboxing. Crow Cop is one. Another would be Melvin Mahoof, and a number of others, or Manhoff, however you say his name. But I think that Anderson Silva's striking has translated beautifully over to MMA, and he's got an excellent ground game. That being said, at 205, Anderson Silva's wrestling is subpar. I think at 185, his wrestling is somewhat subpar. It's getting better and better, and we saw it against Nate Marquardt. But the fact that he can still be taken down, I think, by by any really good wrestler at 205, a Rampage Jackson or even a Forrest Griffin would be a hard matchup for him, because I think they can hold him down. That's what I think. I mean, he's great off his back, but this doesn't change the fact that when you have a stronger, you can be as good as you want, but if a guy is a strong wrestler's on top of you, and he's strong, and he has a good submission defense, like a Ricardo Arona, or even a Tito Ortiz, you're going to have a very, very hard time pulling a submission off. Now, of course, I know Arona and Ortiz are not in the UFC, but the fact that they could be at one time is there. I don't think Tito will come back, but I think eventually they may want to get Arona just to keep someone like Affliction from signing him, if Affliction does get big. And you do have other guys at 205 that are on contract with the UFC that can do that I think can do the same thing. Matt Hamill might even be able to do it, although his striking will have to improve before he can do it. Another guy that could probably do it is, Jake O'Brien, if he ever comes down to 205, which I think would be a good idea, would probably also be able to do it. Just any really strong wrestler who drills submission units. Because you have to remember that Anderson Silva's submission he's not the greatest submission guy. I mean, off his back. I mean, there are better guys off their back, and they haven't been able to submit some of the guys in the UFC's 205 division. And that's really just how you look at it that way. So he has the skills, but he does not have the size, and he does not have a particularly amazing sprawl that would permit him to keep the fight standing and keep out striking. I mean, as you saw from my Irvin Silva video, I actually think James Irvin has a shot at beating him, and James Irvin's not top 10, not top 20, maybe top 30 at best, but I even have him outside of that at 205, and he has a chance of beating him. Imagine what a top 10 205er has against Anderson Silva. I mean, it's just too much of a size thing to come across and beat. I mean, I've said it time and time again, I don't think there's anyone that I would pick over him at 185. There's a few guys who I think still have a shot. As stunning as it is, even though he beat him, I think Dan Henderson's one of them, I think. that's the best shot of anyone in the UFC other than improving Rasimir Palhares or Demian Maia. Demian Maia needs better cardio. I mean, as it stands, Demian Maia is a one-run fighter, and he would have to finish Anderson Silva at that time in order to win. Palhares just needs to improve his stand-up skills somewhat. I would say also improve his wrestling a bit. I was not in the fights of Palhares, as I've seen. I have not been overly stunned with his wrestling. So I went off on a bit of a tangent there, but that's what I think about Anderson Silva's shot at being a double champion in the weight classes that have been stated, and my reasoning for why I don't think it'll happen. And that's about it. I hope you enjoyed.